civil service meeting afterwards for Tom. Anybody can
Yep.
stay.
Do you want me to turn all this up?
Thank you, Kelly.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Here.
Alderman Hassan.
Here.
Alderwoman Day is excused. Alderman Barber.
Here.
Alderman Barber is remote. Alderman Craig.
Here. Excellent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hold on. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to switch around items B1 and 2, and we go with B2 first, which is a proclamation in recognition of Municipal Judge Fred Clements. I'm going to be reading this proclamation over here to the right, and Judge and former Mayor Clements also would like to say a few words afterwards. And if Kelly, pictures. So I'll read this in its entirety. Whereas Frederick F. Clements has completed an incredible term of his life of substantial service to the public, assisting and always working towards and protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the community, residents, and its guests. As the City of Franklin Municipal Judge from May 1st, 2006 through the month of April 2024. And whereas prior to serving the public as municipal judge, Frederick Clements served as the mayor of the City of Franklin for the vast majority of the years from April 1990 to April 2005, for which he received resolutions from the Common Council commending him and in his honor for his service, during which years Franklin was one of the fastest growing municipalities in the state of Wisconsin. Big. Whereas Frederick Clements, Fred, additionally through all the years has been serving humanity in his practice of law since his graduation year of 1976 from, how do you pronounce that? Willamette University College of Law, and is continuing his practice and service to the people. And whereas in addition, Fred was a pivotal founding member of Volition Franklin, and Fred is now serving as a business sector partner representative for Volition Franklin, a positive force for changes in the Franklin community, a coalition that works to prevent alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use by educating young people to make informed decisions in coordination with the City of Franklin Health Department to support the efforts to prevent and reduce substance misuse among youth. And whereas Fred has spent his life in the service of others and continues to do so. Now therefore, it be proclaimed that I, John R. Nelson, Mayor of the City of Franklin, Wisconsin, on behalf of all the citizens of Franklin, hereby express our gratitude for the incredible over 30 years of public service received upon the work of Fred Clements, and in recognition and honor of Fred Clements, and appreciation for the services he continues to provide. Good luck and Godspeed, Fred. Present the community and the people of the City of Franklin on this 16th day of July, 2000. Thank you. If you'd like to say a few words up there, it'd be great.
I'm just going to say a couple words here. Promise I won't be long. There's lots of business to be done. I'd like to thank the mayor and aldermen for doing this, and I don't know if the general public realizes this, but the aldermen and the mayor, of course, are not purely volunteers. They do get paid for what they do. But I would also point out, from having done it myself for 13 and a half years as mayor, when you add up the amount of time and the reading and the meeting with constituents and the listening to phone calls and trying to deal with issues, when you add all that up, I guarantee they get paid less than minimum wage. So they're not purely volunteers. but to a large extent, they really are. And I think the general public should know how much time and effort, everything they put in. Three other things I want to mention just very quickly. I won't take up everybody's time. I thought we had an absolutely excellent 4th of July celebration this year, and I'd like to encourage one of the aldermen or the mayor to send a letter to the chair of the Civic Celebration Committee, thanking them again. I know you do in person. I've seen Mayor Nelson do that, but I think a written letter of some kind, thanking them for all the time and effort. It was difficult. Sometimes the weather wasn't the most cooperative, so I think a letter from the council would really go a long way. I think it'd be greatly appreciated. The other two things I want to say, and I hope I'm not wasting everybody's time, but when I was first elected mayor in 1990, my daughter Julianne was 6. My wife time overheard Julianne playing with the neighborhood, saying, you know, my dad's the mayor. I'm the mayor. Joanne brought her in. Things I don't want to hear this daughter stuff. So a few days later, Julianne and I are at the Century, 76 Lawson. We're at the Century grocery store, and an older gentleman comes up and says, Mayor, I want to congratulate you. Congratulate. Little girl, I know who you are. You're the mayor's daughter, aren't you? Julianne looked up at him and said, you know, I thought I was too. My mom says, and one last thing I wanted to mention, all the things that I'm proud that the city did during my term as mayor. David Mayer Public Works Garage, a new fire station out by the business park, library, of course, which has become, I think, one of the proudest meeting places in the city. I'm proud of that. I'm also very, very proud of course, business park. Not only has a lot of good businesses, a lot of beautiful buildings there, but has provided jobs for hundreds of people, good paying families. Very proud of that. And finally, I just want to mention one other thing. On my way here this afternoon, I drove by 2 houses in a row, and had a sign in front of it saying, I back the bag. This is great. I think that's good. I hope all of us back the bag. That's a good thing. But I want to commend the citizens of Franklin, who years ago did more than just put up a yard sign, back the bag. More than saying verbally, I back the bag. But showed by building the law enforcement center, the people of Franklin were committed to backing the badge with the resources, with the facilities, with the equipment, with what they needed to do the job protecting it. I'm very, very proud of that, and proud of that as I am anything else that happened during my term. I have Chief Learden here, and I can tell you, I couldn't have made a better choice. Thank you very much, Mayor and Alderman. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you again.
So I'm going to actually go back to G1, a resolution and ratification of a proclamation to authorize the remote attendance of an alderperson at common council meetings upon temporary health circumstances pertaining to the alderperson not allowing for physical mobility to attend the meeting in person and the availability of a quorum for the meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mike. Motion carries. Going now to B1, citizen comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak at this time, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. 3 minutes maximum. It is now open. Seeing no one, close citizen comment period. Moving on, it never happens. To approval of minutes. C1, regular common council meeting on July 2nd, 2024. Is there a motion?
There's a corrected version on your place for both the minutes.
I'll make the motion with the corrections.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second on C1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Going on to C2, special common council meeting of July 9th, 2024.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under D, we have no hearings. Under E, organizational mayor appointments, mayor Alderman appointments. On sub A, Alderman John Picarelli, Finance Committee, 1 year unexpired term expiring 4/15/2025. I don't see any reason to do separate action, so I'll put all these three together unless somebody wants to separate action, say something. B, Alderman John Picarelli, Civic Celebrations, 2 year unexpiring term expiring June 30th of 2026. C, Alderman John Picarelli, Personnel Committee, 3 year unexpired term expiring April 14th of 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's-
Okay, I thought only roll call was for Mira coming up, but okay, we're gonna do a roll call on this. Madam Clerk?
Alderman Pecorelli,
What do I say?
Yeah, if you want it, say aye. If you don't
Aye.
want to, say no.
Okay.
that's
Aye.
okay. Alderwoman Eichman,
Aye.
Alderman Hassan,
Aye.
Alderman Barber,
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Okay, 5 ayes, no nos, 1 absent, motion carries. Next one up, mayoral boards and commission appointments. Mayor Kreskovich, 8810 South 51st Street, Alderman D4, Community Development Authority, 4 year unexpired term expires August 30th of this year. And then B, extending the same person till August 30th, 2028. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Craig,
Aye.
Alderman Barber,
Aye.
Alderman Hassan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman,
Aye.
Alderman Pecorelli.
Aye.
Excellent. 5 ayes, no nos, 1 absent, motion carries. We've got no letters going into G2. A resolution authorizing the installation of a fence within the west 10-foot and the south 15-foot drainage easement upon Lot 22, Block 30 in Southwood East Addition Number 8, being a subdivision of parts of the southeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4 of Section 23 and the northwest 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of Section 24, Township 5, North Range 21 East in the city of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, 4449 West Central Avenue, text key number 881-0077-000, Nicholas and Angelica Caterozoli, applicant Mr. Morrow.
So if you look on page 30, the Exhibit A that we have was not signed in hand. My office does now have a signed copy. Per number 5 that you see on page 27, the mortgage holder consent form is still forthcoming. We have not received that yet. So if the Common Council desires, I would add to the recommendation a line that says contingent upon receipt of a mortgage holder consent form.
So we have a listed recommendation motion to simply add that
Contingent upon
contingent upon, say that again?
receipt of a mortgage holder consent form
Okay, fair enough.
executed.
Okay. So it's to add the term executed or stating no mortgage.
They do have a mortgage.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that what you gentlemen are conversing about is consistent with a good, clear motion. Okay?
Motion please be repeated.
Yeah.
So you would add to the motion, recommended motion, contingent upon receipt of an executed mortgage holder consent form or a statement saying that there is no mortgage, but there is a mortgage. We know that.
Will make the motion to approve.
And I will second.
Second.
We have a first seconded by Alderman Barber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you for the clarification. G3, a resolution authorizing certain officials to execute a master equity lease agreement, a full maintenance agreement, a consignment auction agreement, an agreement to sell customer vehicles, a government credit application, and a maintenance, management, and fleet rental agreement with enterprise entities, Enterprise FM Trust, Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc., etc., to reduce the cost of acquiring, owning, and maintaining fleet vehicles. Who would like to speak on this one? Well, if there's no, I thought maybe. Right. Well, Mr. City Attorney,
There was presentation materials from
That's for,
Johnson Controls. No, that's G6.
that's G6.
right.
There's presentation materials in the packet on this one from the enterprise entities. And I did go through all the agreement forms, and we had communications of substance, or I did with the village attorney for the village of Menominee Falls. My understanding is that they entered into the contracts with Enterprise and are taking it step by step and working with Enterprise to kind of bring it in, which is a most beneficial financially position for the village. And he was positive about it. And with regard to going through the pages and pages and small print of contracts, et cetera, I did speed read, and it is what it is, nothing of substance in terms of what the city would be getting in terms of leasing, potentially purchasing, et cetera, and potentially maintaining. Some of that can be traded off within the city as the city doing it instead of the contractor. And in that regard, and so everything was positive on it. And in the regard of working into this process, that's why within the resolution, I did put that it's subject to changes approved by the Director of Administration, the Director of Finance and Treasurer, and the City Attorney, because the Administrator and the Treasurer will be working with the company, putting this into play in the most positive form for the city.
And to add to that is we've involved department heads in this, and especially the ones that have and are involved in fleet purchases currently, because I was a big skeptic about this. I kind of still am, because being around this, the fleet purchases, it's always was kept in-house. You had them, then they went to auction. The auction money came back to your vehicle fund, and you continued that track, and that's been for a decades-long practice. And then when we saw other jurisdictions that were, exploring this option, that did a lot of groundwork, as the Mr. City Attorney had said, and talking with our other department heads, the fire chief and police chief, it's definitely worth exploring. And if it does save money, and not only saves money, but makes the flow easier, and it streamlines the process, it's definitely worth taking a look at. So that's where we came up with that.
Yeah, and I can say that we had a couple of meetings with the representative from Enterprise who was here tonight to answer any questions. As department heads, we had all met with him, and the consensus was everybody was on the same page to let's give this a shot.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for coming. If you would just please just state your name and business address for the record, and then we will probably fire a few questions at you.
Might need to get my phone out for the business address.
Pull that right in close,
Sure.
There you go.
My name is Matt Jaskowiak. I'm a senior account executive for Enterprise Fleet Management. Our corporate office for Wisconsin's located on Lincoln Avenue in Waukesha. It's got a W and an N in it. I can't tell you the verbiage of it's. Oh, yeah. It's right on the front page here. So address is S17W22650 Lincoln Ave in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 53186.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and everybody else, council members. I'll give a quick intro of myself, Enterprise, our background, who we work with, the concept, the idea, the execution, answer Q&A, and we can give you some time back. So I've been working with Enterprise for 13 years. I'm on the new business side. I primarily focus energy in the new business for municipalities, government, counties, cities, villages, and school districts. We provide fleet management services for municipalities, government, non-government entities across the United States and Canada. We specialize in helping organizations like the City of Franklin be as efficient as possible when it comes to procuring, fixing, filling up, upfitting, and selling vehicles, plain and simple. So buy low, sell high, what we have found, and through the packets, and you can read some good information. So just some high-level findings that the city leadership, Enterprise, and my team have found just through some basic data. 33% of the current fleet today, over 62 vehicles, is over 10 years or older. We've also found that the average cycle the city takes to replace all 62 vehicles is over 12 years. So it takes the city 12 years to cycle through all 62 vehicles. High level, what we are able to do through the funding solution through Enterprise, we're a privately owned, family-owned company, so the Taylor family helps our clients out with lines of credit. We're able to fund the program to slow capital outlay, replace vehicles a little bit more aggressive to replenish and rejuvenate the fleet. By doing so, we're going to capitalize on selling your current vehicles, the 62 vehicles, the ones we dedicate time to selling, use those funds to pay for future vehicles coming through. In turn, cycling those newer vehicles on a shorter life cycle will increase the resale value over time, lower operating costs on maintenance and fuel, have better downtime, safety and compliance, company image, more productivity, less downtime from the departments for like a DPW or police or fire that are very heavily usage vehicles. Downtime can be, a big issue. So when you look at a municipality that operates a 12-year-old fleet, which you currently have today, versus a municipality that could operate a 4-year-old, 5-year-old fleet, which we're proposing, there's cost savings in doing that, as well as all the intrinsic benefits of what I just mentioned before. So looking over the current position, still 9 vehicles are predate anti-lock brake standardization, 13 vehicles predate electronic stability control, 32 vehicles predate standardization of backup cameras. Something very simple, a backup camera could prevent a simple fender bender backing into something that could cause a $1,000 deductible, just basic stuff, right? Today, some cars turn themselves off and restart them at stoplights. Some cars actually drive themselves by stopping and detecting pedestrians crossing the street or objects. Not saying that's going to be every single vehicle, but what it means is the newer technology involved in vehicles should help prevent unwanted circumstances more than what the current fleet would today. So there's a cash flow, there's a fleet profile page to really hammer through. It's really, top to bottom, left to right, like a book, will really explain the current situation, the number of vehicles, the average age, miles per year. The police department dominates the mileage per year over the 60 vehicles. So if we remove those vehicles, the average annual mileage for all the other departments would be close to the 5,000 or 6,000 miles per year. That kind of plays into the philosophy. So why this program works for other municipalities like the City of Racine, City of Oak Creek, Village of Menominee Falls, West Bend, Sheboygan, Eau Claire, School District, City of Green Bay, City of La Crosse. There's a long laundry list. Government entities can buy vehicles far more aggressive than the regular civilian or taxpayer or myself. They also drive far less miles per year. So when you look at selling a vehicle at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, with 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 miles on them, the municipality in general forgets the value of that vehicle at any point of its life versus traditionally holding it for 8 to 10 or 12 years of time. You're missing out on the resale bump, you're spending more on maintenance, you're losing out on safety technology, and all that recipe put together creates the cash flow that we can kind of see today. What's not in here is the administrative effect that we're going to bring to the city leaders and department heads. So just very simple example, the police department, I was able to secure on hold some pursuit rated Tahoes. It might not be the right vehicle fit, but it's a great example to showcase the economies of scale that we can bring to a department, to a city or other municipality of sourcing vehicles in a manner that is not feasible without us. We did secure some vehicles for the City of Cudahy Police Department across country, shipped them over by truck, and it was far more cost effective than having them wait to order the next model year pursuit vehicle. So utilizing our economies of scale, our resources, we're just able to generate quicker turnarounds, more cost-effective, more cost-effective decisions. But our city leaders and your budgets and department heads are all final decision makers. So we work with city leaders and department heads every single year, multiple times a year on budgets, future budgets, what are current vehicles costing today, what are the equity positions going to be tomorrow, and we put that recipe together, and that's how we have over 60 government clients in Wisconsin active doing this today. So I can yield back. There's some good case studies in here. There's references. Anyone on there would be more than willing to take a phone call or email. We are looking obviously to move forward and to start with the police department specifically, and then as departments progress upon city leadership, we will execute upon those
Thank
asks.
you. Council, questions?
I feel everything was covered
Mayor?
from the mayor, city administrator.
Alderwoman Eichman first, then Alderman Barber.
I yield, thank you.
Alderman Barber, you've got the floor.
My concern is, I think this is the first time we're hearing of this at this point. But what about special equipment for vehicles? Do we just get a base unit and then we add what we need, or how does that all play out with the fire and police especially?
Like the setup?
Yep.
Great question. So we work with the department head specifically on the vehicle's application need, upfit needs. We logistically order the vehicle. We have a technology system that tracks that vehicle through the process. We assign vendors of where that vehicle needs to go after it's built from the manufacturer. So we're not only helping fleet plan, but we're logistically getting the vehicle from point A to point B to point C. So when for example, the police chief receives a marked squad, that vehicle is ready turnkey. It's going to have signage on it. It's going to have prisoner bars, light bars, everything but traffic cones, weapons, and ammo and other materials. So we work hand in hand with all department heads, making sure they get exactly what they need. We also have resources in place to help mitigate costs with other vendors and to bid out quotes and costs. And we're also able to cap that cost into the lease. So for example, the police village of Menominee Falls, their upfit costs we're capping into the lease itself, so they don't have to outlay that cash up front. So it really slows the capital outlay down, allowing them to speed up their replacement plan.
Are the police and fire chief there to be able to comment?
Yes, Alderman, both are here. Both have met with the gentleman. Both support this moving forward.
Do they want to make a comment?
Chiefs, would you like to make a comment on this? So, Alderman, we got the police chief, Learman, is up at the table right now, and he's got the microphone. We'll make whatever comments you wish, sir.
All right. Yeah, we did meet with Enterprise, listen to the presentation. I did get a chance to talk to a couple other police departments that have at least begun working with them. I think it's a step in a positive direction to maintain a younger fleet, which obviously, like they said, reduce downtime and maintenance costs. Right now, our fleet is, as you said, quite a bit older. Look today, and so far we've spent 73% of our maintenance budget for the fleet this year already. So that kind of is some evidence to kind of what we're saying here. And acquisition has been a problem for us. And like they were saying earlier, they were able to get their hands on, or at least try to get their hands on, 2 Tahoes that we were looking at. Unfortunately, it doesn't have quite all the equipment that we need. But it was an example of their ability to get a hold of these vehicles much faster than we would.
Thank you for that comment.
My one question, or my last question, is of the chief. Are you confident you're going to get the kind of vehicles that you want to support our officers?
Good question. Yes. Case in point, we do equip our vehicles with armor in the doors. and the 2 Tahoes that Enterprise was going to get for us did not have that armor. So we, I say refused the order, but didn't accept it, and they were fine with that. They'll keep working. So they assured that they don't indicate what type of vehicle we get. We indicate that, and they've already proven it. So.
Excellent.
I
We
yield.
got the fire chief up next, Mike, unless you have another question for the police
Okay.
chief.
From
No, I'd like to hear the fire chief.
from fire, we're going to be probably a smaller user than what police or DPW are. Just to clarify that this plan does not include any vehicles that are over 1 ton of gross vehicle weight. I think it was 1 ton.
26,000 pounds. A little heavier.
So, yep. So it wouldn't include our ambulances. It wouldn't include our fire apparatus, the more specialized type of equipment. But for fire, it would include 3 staff vehicles that we have for our fire inspector and for utility purposes, as well as 2 pickup trucks. And the one thing that was attractive, kind of to dovetail what Chief Learman had mentioned, is we would have the ability to turn the vehicles over sooner. Our 2 utility pickup trucks right now are over 20 years old. They got rust holes. They've definitely served the city for longer than expected. The other attractive item was that they Enterprise would work with the upfitters that we are currently using. So whether it's general fire equipment or 1033 vehicle products, the vendors that we're used to dealing with for upfitting, they would work with them to build it into the lease. And then lastly, I did have a conversation with the Oak Creek Fire Chief. They are just getting started as of last year with the program, and he has been happy with the services and is looking at adding some more vehicles to the Oak Creek Fire Department program. So,
Thank you, chiefs. I yield.
Thank you. Any further questions from the council?
I'd like to make the motion to adopt.
We've got 2. We've got Alderman Craig, then Alderman Picarelli.
Thank you. Just a handful of questions. Number one, with the case study that was provided in the packet here from the city of Wausau, estimates roughly about $120,000 per year in savings. Would that be something that would be atypical, or is that something that would be that most municipalities see as far as savings go?
Yeah, most municipalities, in some regards, they operate very similar type vehicles. It's a case by case. Some municipalities, the faster you jump in, the more vehicles you replace up front, the more you're going to save right away. Because if you take 60 vehicles, your current 60 are worth more today than they ever will be. If you just start with 5 and it takes you 5 or 6 years to get into it, the cost savings will get there. It just takes a lot longer and there'll be less. So it's a little odd to say the faster you move, the more you'll save. It's just how the facts play out. But every municipality is just a little bit different. They start different. The city of Sheboygan, the police department does not work with us, but we work with all 65 other of their vehicles, and they replaced them at once. City of West Bend, they did 22 at once, non-PD. Some police, sheriff department in Jackson County, they started with 21 out of 30 of their police vehicle marked and unmarked. So everyone's a little bit different. So we're going to tailor this specifically to the department heads and taxpayers of City of Franklin. We're a 70-year military-founded, family-owned business. We have a lot riding on this as a reputation, and so we're going to make sure that you guys are taken care of. I think that both chiefs said it better than I could as far as what to expect and what we've already been working on.
Okay. One other item that you made mention of is how when other things are needed to be added to just the base vehicle, that gets folded into the cost of the lease agreement. If something were, let's say, the health department vehicle needed to be replaced, or we just purchased that, and if there's a really spectacular deal on, say, an electric vehicle, would there be some sort of additional for providing charging stations, or is that something that you guys don't really kind of wade into that side of the pool yet?
Great question. So a couple things to try to unpack. So on the electric vehicle perspective, or just you guys are going to get dedicated fleet consulting. So luckily, not myself, you'll have a dedicated accountant team that's solely focused on the City of Franklin. So they're going to provide year by year overlook. They're going to provide day to day, month to month, week to week emails, phone calls, touch points, consulting with leadership on budget trends. What are we looking for? What do we need to try to budget for? What are we going to replace? So in that time, we're also working with department heads to focus on what are the replacement opportunities? What's our cost today versus going forward? So we're going to provide a lot of dedicated time and energy into this partnership. As far as electric vehicles go and just being different or thinking outside the box, maybe that's a good way to phrase it. We are at the leading front of that with organizations from Rivian, Tesla, all the other major manufacturers that are in the electric vehicle market. We work with partnership nationwide with Q Merit. Q Merit's a residential and commercial organization that helps with infrastructure of electrification. I would say start at home base. If you have an electrical utilities energy company, that might be a great place to start. But we would be a great resource to bounce ideas off of if you're interested in the electrification of vehicles. And I do believe the government municipality itself is a very great place to start if that's of interest. So.
Okay. And then I think less of a question for you and more for Director Brown, actually. What would this do with the vehicle replacement fund? Would this be where we would phase that out slowly and use what has been typically earmarked for those to become just sustaining for the program? Or would that still be something that we would have as, we still want to keep a handful of vehicles solely to be owned by the city?
So I don't think that we would need to have city-owned vehicles at this point if this is the route that's chosen to go. However, it's no secret that our equipment replacement fund has been severely underfunded for years. And that being said, it's been really hard for us to replace our equipment in a timely fashion, as Matt stated, 12 years just for our normal vehicles, and that's not talking about fire fleet and some of the other DPW bigger fleet that we have that's way out of aging. But that being said, we do have fleet in the equipment revolvement fund that would stay in that fund. Like I said, some of the bigger DPW vehicles are fire apparatus, and we will continue to maintain those throughout that fund. We may move forward with maybe providing a different fund to kind of move some of those city-owned vehicles and move it into a leased vehicle fund. That would free up then some money in the equipment revolvement fund.
Would that require a different fund to be drawn from, or would that still be in that same bucket of the vehicle replacement?
I think it could be done either way, but I have reached out to our auditors and they're going to work with me on, because I've never done that before. So getting us up to speed on what it would look like in the city of Franklin, because they also work with other municipalities that are involved in the same agreement.
And then maybe for both of you then, would that be something where we would do a slow rollout? I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, that going a lot more aggressive, a lot quicker would be much more beneficial financially. Is that even a possibility to do given, cash restraints as far as that goes?
I can answer. The answer is we're going to work with the budget constraints that the city currently has. So the idea of leasing, and I'm going to talk about leasing in a minute just so everyone is on the same page. The way the leasing model is going to help work, it's going to help replace obviously more vehicles with less capital outlay. But the city is paying to own the asset. So the word lease is very misleading at times. It's not a dealer lease or a closed-end lease where there's mileage penalties or wear and tear clauses. It's just a funding solution for the taxpayer. So every time the city makes a payment or my clients make payments, they're paying to own the asset. So when that vehicle sells, so to Mr. Mayor's point earlier about selling it, going to auction, we actually hand sell the vehicles through our sales channels, which will net more gains back for the taxpayers. On top of that, the funds come back to the taxpayer, the cities, or the funds that leadership and everyone decides to do, not enterprise. It's not our money, it's your money. So that's what the master equity lease agreement is. It's an open-end equity lease where you retain equity rights of that asset. So it's just a finance with enterprise. But we will work within the budget constraints that are available with the city, with enterprise. So that's why we work hand in hand with finance directors and leaders and department heads to make sure that we are executing a plan that makes fiscal responsibility sense. But that's why a shorter life cycle on vehicles helps, because the more you rotate vehicles out, the more equity bumps you have coming back to pay back the depreciation you spent. minus some interest costs on the finance. So what happens is it just keeps doing this revolving cycle. Money stays in the departments or the funds or the vehicles or however they decide. And then you're saving money on the operating side as well.
Thank you.
Alderman Picarelli.
So the first question I have is for the length of, how many of the cities, you've named numerous cities, how many cities have gone through and kind of done replacement? So a lot of them you talked on the front end, and I can see how this might look really good on the front end, but once you're in this for a while and you get into the revolving side of it, how many are at that point?
I would say on the current partners on the last page, just for example, because we have over 55, 60 clients that have 20 or more vehicles. I think it's important to know our niche. So a municipality has to have 20 or more vehicles in service to qualify for what we even do. Otherwise, that's our perfect spot or more. On the list is just a very small snip of them. I would say over 60% of them have been doing this for 3, 4, or 5 years or longer. So we have a lot that have a lot of tenure, and it's very positive. But the references are there for everyone to connect with if need be. I would say the business philosophy has been correct for 70 years in doing this. So it doesn't matter if you're a general contractor like Riley Construction or if you're chief of police of the city of Franklin, it's fleet management. So for us, it's when is the perfect time to sell that vehicle? So pre-COVID, Enterprise sold a million cars a year. We also bought 1 million cars a year. So our average age of fleet in our rental fleet was 6 months of age. If we could save a penny on our operating costs by 1 penny per mile, we would have done it because that's a lot of cash. So we're going to bring that mentality, that focus, that drive, that Jack Taylor, who's served in World War II on the USS Enterprise, we're going to bring that mentality to our clients. We're going to utilize your current budget situations, good or bad or for worse, to help. And we have proven that with a lot of municipalities in great positions, not so good, and struggling financially positions to help figure out a way to make it work. So.
And then you mentioned on the lease, it's not like a typical close-end lease, right? And so what happens if you kept the vehicle to the end of it being paid, so essentially being paid off? How does this program work in that regard?
Yep, great question. So each vehicle we specialize. So a police unit that's a marked patrol unit would have a much shorter term life expectancy than a admin vehicle per se. The cost that goes into each vehicles are different. So there's a lot of moving factors. So cost of vehicle, time of year, average miles per year, that each vehicle is expecting. What's the current economy? What's the resale market? Do we sell it in the fall, winter, spring, or summer? So a lot of factors. But we customize each vehicle specific to its application. So the term of lease comes to end, it's paid off or close to it. You guys have the full opportunity to keep that vehicle. You can replace it. If there's a balance at term, you can pay the remaining balance off over another 12 months to keep cash on hand. But you have the autonomy to make any decisions you please with the unit. It's your vehicle. You're just paying to own it. So consider it like a mortgage. If we own a home, we would say we own our house. Technically, the bank does until we pay it off. Right? But when we sell that house, we pay off the finance to zero. And then we sell it, and any equity difference that we get to keep and or transfer to the next house. This is exactly what we do for all our clients. Finance gets paid down, we sell it for X dollars, we pay the finance to zero, the remaining equity comes back to the taxpayer or to Danielle. She preferred in full name to Danielle Brown. But you all get to determine how those funds are processed. Majority of my clients roll the gains into the new vehicle that's coming in to pay that down. The reason why you do that is the average outstanding balance on the finance is less. You pay less interest when you put money down on the finance. So over time, this will just start getting better and better and better. And then we're starting to see incentives kind of creep back up like they used to be. So I hope that answers your question and then some.
Yeah. And then for so from a rate standpoint, right, because this is pretty much financing is really
correct.
So rate-wise, what kind of premium on what the base rates are? What are we talking?
Yep, we use a 3-year T-bill plus about 400 basis points as our adder. So we're in a 7.5% to 8.5% range. The thing to keep in mind is it's a shorter term. You're not locked into a 5 or 10 year bond. and it's flexible, so you can get out of it. We can early term it, we can extend it. When we start rolling vehicles over and over and over, your average outstanding balance should start to come down and then level. And then when you talk to like a Kenosha Unified School District, who's been doing this for 13 years, they've had more equity than their lease payments in some regards because their vehicles are worth so much. Their budgets are very consistent. So the whole point of this program is to promote consistency, transparency for finance, taxpayers, give your staff the benefit of the doubt to drive healthy vehicles, and we can prove that it actually works. So even if this was a break even, which it's not, this would be a slam dunk. It should cost 20% more to do it, but it doesn't. And that's the hidden gem in the government world, and we've exposed that across the country with over 3,000 clients today. So 11,000 non-government.
Yeah, I was questioning from the standpoint of, used car market has been extremely high, right? So you could pretty much, in last few years, you could drive cars for practically nothing because when you turn them in,
Yep.
they're worth so much. So I was just trying to understand, because this is a financial construct, essentially, how that was going to work. Okay.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. So we're going to use all those economies of scales, the current trends to your benefit. In a way, the government entity is a little recession-proof because you guys still drive no miles per year compared to the general citizen. And you keep in mind, the general citizen drives double the amount of miles on average than a municipality does, but they also pay like 25% more. So when we take that vehicle that you paid 20-some% less and drive half the amount of miles and turn around and sell it in a high-end wholesale world where that dealer is now going to sell it in a high-end retail world, that vehicle is deemed a unicorn. It's a very rare unit where if you had a police or a general DPW F-150, where they're used to seeing those at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, 120,000 miles, where you turn around and see a 2-year-old at 10,000 miles, that creates buzz, that creates dollars, that creates opportunity. So City of Sheboygan ordered 23 F-150s. At 7 months, we ordered another round of 23 F-150s, a model year newer, because they were in such an equity position. So they drove revenue in the months of COVID, the years of COVID, but they drove revenue because the market said they could do it. If it was a reverse market, then we would tame it down. We would advise, consult. You make the decisions as leaders, but we would give you the best advice. We're the world's largest mobility company on the road. There's no one better to have in your foxhole than an enterprise in this regard. So.
And then my last question is, so when we upfit vehicles, so right, like police vehicle, and we upfit it and we pay all that in there, how fast, I'm assuming we're not going to get that all back when we go to sell it, right?
So to give you an example, if we had a marked patrol vehicle, we customized communication with each department head, right? So if we have an old patrol squad going to a new patrol, we're going to communicate with the department heads. We're going to be the liaison with the upfitter to understand exactly what needs to be they're going to communicate exactly what we can transfer, what we can't. From there, we're going to get an upfit quote that's revised based on the actual labor and parts and materials that are going to be used for the new one. We're going to sell that old asset as is.
Yep.
So whatever's left in it as is, de-identified, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there is a motion here, and what was the adder to the motion? I've forgotten in all this discussion. Was there something addition? There was some additional verbiage?
No.
There was
They
none?
No, they just wanted to speak.
Okay. Motion is adopted. Is there a motion to adopt? As per the action sheet.
Yes, my motion. Sorry, Mayor.
So we got a first and second by Mr. Barber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to this journey. Item G4, motion to approve the Franklin Health Department to accept monetary donations in the amount of $300.
Move to approve.
So moved.
So we have a first by Mr. Barber, seconded by Mr. Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. G5, resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of approximately $1,980,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2024 A as in Adam. Madam Director of Finance. Uh-oh.
All right, I will start this off. This is the bond sale from the TID 9 project plan that was put forth back in May. I do have Ariana here from Ellers that will come up and speak to the sale that was completed today. That was also part of the revised documents that I gave to you. It was a revised resolution from Quarles and Brady post-sale, and then also the updated sale document that she will be reading off of.
Perfect.
Okay, Ariana, just please your name and business address for the record, please.
Ariana Schmidt with Ellers, N19W24400, Riverwood Drive, Suite 100, Waukesha, 53188.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. So this document that you have in front of you, I'm going to be going through page 2. It's titled Competitive Sale Results. So this morning we did take bids. We had 5 underwriters bid on that. Ultimately, the winning bidder was Bayard. Prior to today's award, Moody's, the rating company that has rated your issues in the past, worked with staff as well as Ellers to affirm the city's rating of AA2. So that's the rating that the underwriters were using upon review. Bayard, the lowest bidder, came in at 3.8267%. The highest bidder was just over 4%, so a little bit of a spread there. In comparison to the pre-sale estimates that you saw when I was here last month, the rates were at 3.96, so about 14 basis points lower today compared to the numbers you saw a month ago. Ultimately, because of the premium that we received, we were able to downsize by $100,000. So that's why you see the principal amount as $1.88 million rather than $1.98 million that you saw in the presale estimates. Ultimately, in total principal and interest over the life of the notes, there is about $27,000 in savings compared to what you saw in the presale estimates. Ultimately, if you move to approve the resolution tonight, August 7th will be the closing when the city will have access to those funds. And then additionally attached in this document are a variety of supplemental materials, which I can go through if you have questions. Otherwise, what you'll see are all of the bids from the 5 underwriters on pages 3 and 4. And then thereafter are the financing models that you saw at the pre-sale with updated numbers reflective of those sale award results today. And then at the end, you'll see the rating report from Moody's reflecting that AA2 affirmation, as well as a bond buyer index rating graph over the past year so you can see where rates have fluctuated. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions from the council? Any questions at this time from the council? Alderman Barber, any questions, sir?
Make the motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hassan. All those in favor? It's a roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
We're going to go back to a roll call vote. It's not listed on here, but let's go for a roll call vote.
Alderman Piccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. Item G6.
Yellow folder.
Item G6, a resolution authorizing certain officials to execute a performance contract and Schedule 5 supplemental terms and conditions agreements with Johnson Controls, Inc. in furtherance of the Master Energy Services Agreement previously entered into with Johnson Controls, Inc. to implement energy efficiency, safety, security, and renewable energy measures at various city buildings and infrastructure. Madam Director of Administration.
At this time, I'd like to invite Jeff Van Ness with Johnson Controls up to provide this presentation and to help assist in answering any questions.
Thank you. We're going to slide that little mic over. If you could state your name and business address for the record, please, and welcome.
Thank you. Excellent, thank you. My name is Jeff Van Ness from Johnson Controls. Our address is 12,000 West Worth Street in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, 53222.
Perfect. Good evening, and we'll go through a presentation and we'll have some questions.
Excellent.
Well, I just wanted to say as well, this is a follow-up to the master service agreement that we had finalized, when was that, in April? April. And as discussed and also motioned by the council, we are bringing it back this month. So, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Get closer?
Yep.
Okay, that's better.
Karaoke.
Johnson Controls has been active in Wisconsin since it was founded back in 1885, and we're proud to be part of the community, and we very much support the city of Franklin and the surrounding area here. As the Director of Administration mentioned, what's before you now is what you asked us to bring back in April, and that is a multi-year partnership, the first phase of that, and that's what is called a performance contract. And a performance contract has been around for about 30 years. There's legislation in Wisconsin that supports that. It's really a turnkey design and implementation project that enables public entities to do efficiency projects in an alternative way, and helps cities and counties and schools fund these projects. And so that's what we have in front of you. We've done a lot of work over the last several months with the team. Thank you to the Director of Administration, the Director of Finance, department heads, the fire and the police chiefs, and everybody else who've done a lot of work with us to develop this. What we've done is we've looked at the priority pieces within the city to help implement infrastructure improvements along the way. Now, as the Director of Administration mentioned, you know, the timing is such that this is what you asked us to do, to come back tonight to present. But actually, since then, the timing has become more critical, even in that the city, these buildings we're talking about, have had some critical failures and emergency repairs that have been required. And so time is really of the essence with this project.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So today I'll just give a summary, and this packet is in front of you. It's a summary of each building. The detail is in the agreement that is in front of you as well. We'll start with the library. The library has some of the most critical equipment that needs to be upgraded at this time. One example of failing equipment is that the chilling system just needed over $20,000 of repair within the last month, and that could be avoided with the replacement. Now, it's no fault of anybody that occurred. It's just a function of the age of the equipment. The library is over 20 years old, and the equipment is past its useful life. So what the library had to do was recharge the air conditioning system with R22 refrigerant, and that refrigerant has been phased out for many, many years. In fact, you can't buy new refrigerant at this time. For the last 4 years, it's been banned. And so that's what made the repair so costly, is that the library needed a partner to come up with recycled refrigerant for that. So these repairs would replace the chiller with new higher efficient equipment with newer state-of-the-art refrigerant, so you wouldn't have that problem. The other critical piece of equipment is the boiler system at the library, which is very close to failure. And so should the council approve this project tonight, we would be able to begin mobilization of that as early as next month to be able to replace the boiler before heating season coming up, to avoid extra repair costs. So part of this project, beyond the mechanical systems, are lighting improvements at all the facilities. So upgrading to LED on every fixture within the facility, which would provide significant energy reduction, O&M reduction, and also a nice, clean, new look for each facility. The building envelope and water conservation would also be part of the project. So we'd seal gaps and weather stripping and things of that nature. Open Blue is a digital solution that would be included for all the buildings, and that's a digital platform in which the city can pull data in from all different sources to be able to make data-driven decisions in the future. We also have a Green Hub, which has been used by other cities with libraries to be an educational type site where you can share with the community the great stuff that Franklin is doing with the solar array and other efficiencies and so forth. So it's a showcase for the community. And then finally, the solar array we've designed would go on the roof. You can see in the picture that it would cover the 1/2 of the roof about, which is a 100 kW AC system that would supply approximately 25% of the usage, the current usage of the library. So those are the existing improvements that are recommended. There's, as I mentioned, this is a long-term relationship, partnership that we have with the city. And so in each of the different buildings, we've offered next phase type approaches when budget allows. And we recommend that actually the city consider adding some budget dollars for next year and the next year and so forth to help bring some of these improvements forward. So in this case, upgrading security access or a card access reader for the library would be beneficial as the next phase.
Thank you. I'm sure there's going to be plethora of questions.
Yeah.
Mr. Barber, do you want to start with any questions, sir?
Just one. I noticed that, or I read where the chiller funding, I think it was $345,000, was going to be used towards funding this project. Does that mean that how does that work in terms of we're taking the money from the chiller? Now, does that chiller get replaced in this new process that's going to be implemented?
Yes.
Hello?
Considering all of the projects that you'll see on one of the future agenda items, we're looking at taking 2024 budgeted dollars for infrastructure improvements, including the library air chiller, and appropriating it to this project since those are directly related costs that are to be fixed with this project.
Yeah, so anything that was allocated for this year for any of the scope, whatever falls into the scope of this project that was already previously allocated, we would end up putting towards this project.
And the chiller would be replaced.
Correct. And I think it's important to emphasize that the library is a cooling and warming center. So to have that HVAC system up and running is really vital for the community.
Yeah, and if I could point out, oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Alderman. I guess we can hold off for a minute and then you continue and then we'll get some questions on. Go ahead.
Okay. For the sake of time, you have the presentation in front of you. So if I can highlight a few things. Number one is the fire station. There's also critical need there at fire station number 1 across the street from the library. There's the HVAC equipment there is past its useful life. There's a need of a repair right away. And so this project would upgrade the HVAC equipment so that you'd basically start from new again to help them in the future. The other significant issue over there, we've been working with the fire chiefs, is the water infiltration in that facility, which has caused some mold to be present in the facility, which is a safety hazard for the fire folks, firefighters, and other folks who are there. And so this project would complete what our architect recommended, and that's to fix the exterior brickwork to minimize or eliminate any infiltration of water. And then the city would remove the mold from the facility such that it would make it a safe environment again for the firefighters. And then I'll skip to the project summary page. which lays out the total cost of the program is, for this phase, is just over $3 million. The savings that are generated on an annual basis with energy and O&M are nearly $100,000 a year. And so those are the savings that over 20 years with inflation will add up to just over $2.4 million. And so those savings are what you reinvest in Franklin to keep the capital cost requirement down. And then the additional benefits, we've gone over them quickly, but just want to point out that this project will accelerate the replacement of a lot of this equipment, which will stop your emergency repairs. It'll minimize or avoid the danger that you have to staff and really avoid the catastrophic failures, which seem to be imminent in the, with the age of the equipment that you have. But on the positive side, what it does is it helps you stretch your capital dollars by using this performance contracting mechanism, and it helps you accelerate the path to the safer and healthier environments by doing it with a budget neutral type project. And so what that does is that using the savings allows you to minimize the risk to the budget and helps you avoid any negative tax impacts that are caused by this project. So the final piece that I have is the schedule, and again, this is laid out in the agreement from April, and that is why this is before you now in July at this meeting. If it were approved, it would be ready for implementation beginning in August to help you meet those goals. So that concludes the presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Mr. Craig?
I got a whole gaggle of them. So with your timeline here, it shows that the project mobilization would begin in August. What would we be seeing as far as completion timeline as far as that goes? Would we see this done by Halloween?
Right.
Christmas?
Yeah.
Spring?
The scope of work is varied, right? It's pretty extensive. And so what we would do is implement based on the priorities that are required, right? So we would start with the fire station, we'd start with the library, the critical equipment, with the goal to get that implemented by the fall before heating season, right? Even the chiller at the library. Then the less critical stuff we would do over time, where the solar arrays, for example, we would do the final design in the fall, and we expect the entire project to be done in the spring.
Okay. When you mentioned with the library, you mentioned about the solar array would provide 25% of the energy that is utilized today. With all the upgrades as far as better lighting and much more energy efficient, would that obviously would grow from 25%? Would this almost be to the point of, dare I say, self-sustaining, or is that a bridge too far?
For that size of a array, it's a bridge too far.
Okay.
It certainly is possible to add to the solar array and make it closer to that, to a net zero type facility. But what we did was we designed it to basically match there's some constraints when you design a solar array. One has to do with the Public Service Commission and utility rate tariff rules, right? And in that case, we could have a system much larger than this. The other constraint is the size of the footprint. And so here we show half the roof is covered.
Okay.
And then another constraint is really the usage. To your point, we don't want to overproduce. It's better to match the production with the usage of the facility. So for now, we thought this was the
Like
recommended
nice,
size.
safe sort of number to work with.
Yep.
Okay. When we talk about the total savings and you say over a 20 years with inflationary adjustment, are we utilizing just a flat 2% inflation rate, or are we seeing what we've seen recently where it's been a little bit, where it hasn't been something that can be accurately predicted month by month?
Yeah, we can't predict the utility rates. ever, unfortunately. And so what we have in this contract in front of you is a straight inflation adjustment for each utility.
Okay.
So it's a 3.5% or so inflation a year for the electric, and it's a little bit more, I think 5% for the gas.
Okay. And then lastly, with technology and all of the changes and how fast, innovation kind of takes us, is there a possibility, like, I'd like to think that we wouldn't be just satisfied once this contract is completed as far as what is the scope that you're laying out right now. Because if, brand new technologies and other sort of innovations, is there a possibility that this can become like a capital improvement plan that we utilize moving forward? Or is that will be a separate contract that we would kind of have discussions with after the fact?
Yeah, the Master Energy Services Agreement that we are working with you on as a city and Johnson Controls is really a 4-year plus type of a relationship. And so what you're describing is exactly what we hope that it turns into. And for most of our clients with cities and schools and so forth, it is very typical that you turn it into a phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And we help you as part of the capital improvement plan, to your point. And then we're able to implement new technology as it comes forth.
And then, I'm sorry, one more.
At the floor.
Is there a break point where you look at a situation and say, you could, when we previously we talked about old cars and, you can only put so much money into it, and that 91 Tercel, I don't know if it's worth replacing the transmission. Is there a break point where Johnson Controls would look at a situation and say, you could do this in, take for example, Fire Station 1, where, when you talk about the mold and you talk about all the other things that building needs, is there a point where you say, yeah, we can do that. However, you would probably get a better return on investment with a entirely new building or, kind of start from scratch. Is there anything as far as that goes, or is it we just look at how to improve your existing infrastructure? We don't even take an entirely new concept as an option.
Yes, we certainly would like to do that with you. We do facility planning and master planning and can help you get to that point, even with facilities, like perhaps it's time to build a new fire station instead. That's certainly something we can help you work through.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Pecorelli?
I just have one question. We were talking about the solar arrays earlier. So what's the useful lifespan on that equipment?
The solar array has a useful life of 30 years plus in general. There's warranties on the solar panels themselves of more than 25 years. There's actually a product warranty of 25 and then a production warranty of where I believe the percentage is, it guarantees that there's 83% of your production is still there 30 years after you implement it. And so it's a long-lasting asset. Now, the inverter has less life, but those are less expensive pieces of equipment.
Thank you.
So one of the things that when we've met and I've talked about was the expansion of the utilization of the solar power. And now there were some challenges at the library because of shadowing from the water tower. And we were looking at, how can we maximize this solar, because it's gaining momentum, it's gaining popularity. And I guess my point to that is, as we progress as a city, and sometimes these costs go down to implement the solar and the advantages go up, I think that's going to be one more thing that's going to be, or another point to this, that with JCI, that we can look at implementing that as we go, because the infrastructure has already been laid there. Because the 25% that's mentioned about the library, I thought that was low. I thought, wow, why can't it be more, you know, we talk about that, and where's the shadowing, and where the sun, blah, blah, up from the east and sets in the west, and everything else I got schooled on. And, hold on, and that was when, you know, we were corrected on how we want to do this, and where we want to go with it. So I just want to thank you for your explanations, and thank you for coming with this, clarifications on a lot of questions, and we're going to leave it like that for now, and then we'll entertain a motion. Oh,
I just wanted to comment on that. I think our biggest hindrance is our budget. So having the money to make that happen is probably the biggest constraint on us. Otherwise, if we had the money, we would put solar arrays on all the buildings. And
And it's a good way also, to your point, is that once we see a savings, that can be brought back to council and say, hey, look, here's the savings. Now let's go to next building. Let's go to DPW, and let's just keep going, because that is the trend. And if it is a successful trend and a proven trend, then I think it's a prudent decision made for by the city. So with that said, this, we'll definitely do roll call on this. But any other questions from the alders on this?
I'd like to make the motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Pecorelli.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent. Motion carries. Welcome, partner.
Right. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Helpful to be
Thank you.
blowing up a lot.
Appreciate it.
All right, excellent. G7. Request council approval for the fire department to accept a $300 public donation from the Franklin Lions Club.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
So we got a first by Mr. Barber, second by Mr. Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. G8, motion to allow the Director of Health and Human Services to accept the 2024 Division of Public Health Consolidated Contracts to continue funding Health Department grants. Is anybody here from Health? I don't see them. Is there a motion on this?
So move.
Second.
So move as a board member.
All right, so moved by Alderman Barber, second by Alderman Hassan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G9, this will be a roll call. An ordinance to amend ordinance 2023-2569. An ordinance adopting the 2024 annual budgets for the Capital Outlay Fund and Capital Improvement Fund to transfer and repurpose unused appropriations for the Johnson Controls Comprehensive Efficiency Program project. Who is speaking on this?
I will.
Madam Director of Finance, you've got the floor.
All right, so this is a budget amendment that has come forward due to the budget policies that we have in place. According to our budget policy, we are to get a vote on repurposing any dollars that are on a per project basis in our capital improvement fund, and then re-administer funds to different uses that exceed over $5,000 in our capital outlay fund. So that's why this is before you. Back to the Johnson Controls project, we took a look at our budget and determined that based on the needs and the project scope, there was roughly $900,000 that is in the 2024 budget that can be reappropriated to the Johnson Controls project, as that is part of the project plan. That's the 4 items here. That being said, you know, it's a roughly $900,000 capital contribution that you saw in your packet with Johnson Controls. A TELP program is something that we are looking into for financing the remainder of the project. It's a tax-exempt lease purchase program that will come before you in the next coming meetings. I met with the financial advisors, Ellers, and then also with Johnson Controls finance executives to determine the best financing solution for the remainder of the project. And the tax-exempt lease purchase program was the best solution. And so again, you'll see that come forward, but this will be the capital contribution for part of the Johnson Controls project.
Questions from the council?
Motion to adopt.
A second?
We have a first and a second. This will be a roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent. Motion carries. Item G10, a resolution authorizing certain officials to execute a sponsorship agreement with Saputo Cheese USA, Inc. for the funding of Kayla's Playground floor replacement project. Mr. City Attorney, if you could, oh, we have a button. There we go. Perfect.
With regard to the copy of the sponsorship agreement that's contained in the council agenda packet, changes thereto have been exchanged between the city and Saputo over the last week. And there have been a few up and backs in that regard. And Saputo accepted a number of the city changes, but didn't accept a couple others. And I sent a redraft back to them. I think that was the third go-around yesterday. And I communicated with their contact person today a couple of times. And then they're waiting on their legal counsel to review it. And at 4:30, I got an email back from the contact person that they haven't gotten to it yet today. So anyway, I said we will make it work per some of the other items at this meeting. The resolution does approve the sponsorship agreement in the form and content as annexed here to, subject to changes made by the Director of Administration and the City Attorney with regard to the one remaining one of, well, more substance than the other ones. There's a provision in your agenda packet, I think it is 8.3, sponsored organization, which is the city, agrees, acknowledges, consents that anybody essentially within the city working with regard to the Kayla's Playground flooring replacement project consents to all terms of this particular work as described in this agreement, and that it also applies to any third-party contractors of the city. So that would include the contractor for this project. And I wrote them back last week and I said, I rewrote a provision saying at the end, recognizing, and it's an execution of a consent in writing, recognizing that the aforesaid term shall apply forward from the date of full execution of this agreement, and that the floor installation project has been completed prior thereto. And then they deleted that on the return, and I put it back in, and that's one of the things we're waiting on. So I did confer with the city engineer, and on a quick review, he thinks basically the plan or work described in the sponsorship agreement is essentially what the project was and how it was completed. So perhaps they would just accept that in lieu of a consent prior to doing the work, or that it all conforms. But you can't do that because the project's over. So that's it. But overall, considering what it is, try and be reasonable beyond on everything on the city end.
Mr. Craig?
This is a question for the city attorney. Would it be more prudent to table this until the contract has been, till all terms or the sticking points have been kind of resolved?
It's up to you, but the subject matter involves this donation towards the project, et cetera. And project's completed. There was that, I'll leave it at that. since we're still a little bit up and back on primarily that one provision.
Thank you.
Alderman Eichman?
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask the same thing as Alderman Craig asked, if it would be more appropriate to possibly table it to the next meeting, if that's in Saputo's favor. I just wanted to also quickly add how appreciative I am, and many in the city, of the contributions that Saputo has provided. I had the pleasure of working with Amber, with Saputo, in some of the very beginnings of the partnership that they had with the city. You know, as far as this, the donations and contributions and volunteers that they have provided for our civic celebration events and so forth, and the partnerships that Saputo is looking to do going forward with the city. It's just excellent. So thank you to Saputo as well. That'll yield. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, given the current motion, is there something that you would be good with, or are you suggest, or should we table?
Well, I thought everybody viewed this with some expediency to get it accomplished.
Right.
Director of Administration is nodding her head. And
Aggressively.
at 4:30, getting ready to come to 3 meetings at City Hall. I saw an email and I was quickly responded to her. And I said, okay, thanks. And then I wrote, we'll get it done, period. Thanks.
So I'm saying, is the motion that's presented, is there something that you would like to add to it to make it acceptable for tonight? Or do you think we should go
Well,
as is or table? It's kind of like 3 options.
It's up to the council, you know, if I'll work with the Director of Administration on whatever results from the communications here. And if it becomes a problem, then we would bring it back. But if we think it should proceed as is, and we'll get it executed.
Why don't we then proceed as is? If there's an issue, we'll bring it back to council.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that the flooring is complete
Yeah, it's over.
is, kind of makes it a situation where I think it makes sense to move it forward, and then if we do run into an issue, then obviously we would bring it back
We
to discuss.
have that option, is my point. Okay.
I'll make a motion to.
A motion to adopt?
So why don't we go with Mr. Barber to adopt and the second
action sheet.
per the action sheet, and a seconded by Alderman Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Let's see here. G11. Motion to approve or deny an operator license for Antonio Williams for the 2024-2025 license year. Madam City Clerk, you have the floor.
Mr. Williams was notified on 6/12 to come in for an appearance for the 6/18 Common Council meeting. Someone from my office left a message for him to call us back. He did not. She left another message on 6/13 with the same thing, telling him that they would like him to appear on the 6/18 License Committee meeting. And then she also sent an email on 6/17. Mr. Williams did not appear. Then on June 24th, I sent him a certified letter asking him to appear in front of the Common Council meeting, and you have that in your packet, to discuss his record. And we have not heard from Mr. Williams, and I have not received the certified letter back or the card back saying that he accepted it.
Okay, is there a motion to deny? Oh, Mr. City Attorney?
A motion to deny?
Second.
Mr. City Attorney, comments?
With regard to the motion to deny, I would add for repeated failures to appear as requested with regard to the license application or review with the city, and by non-appearance following June 24th, 2024 notice from the city, failure to provide evidence of sufficient rehabilitation and fitness to perform the licensed activity as set forth in the notice.
Excellent. Is that your amended motion, Alderman Barber?
Yes, it is.
Alderman
Yes, it
Eichman?
is.
Yes.
Okay, given the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Let's see here. G12, a resolution to grant an underground distribution easement to Wisconsin Electric Power Company at 8120 South Lovers Lane, tax key number 801-9986-000. Mr. City Engineer, Mr. Morrow.
So we're building a water tower. It needs electric service, and the cost is already wrapped into the contractor is paying for that. As far as doing it, we just need to grant an easement.
Okay,
I'll make the motion.
questions? Hold on, Mr. Piccarelli.
I just, I need to abstain from this.
Oh.
This is,
Understood.
relates to my employer, so I can leave for the discussion, but if it's okay
No.
with you, I can stay.
You can say you just don't act.
I won't act. Thank you.
Before we go into the motion, Alderwoman, I just want to make a couple questions. Mr. Barber, do you have any comments on this?
No.
Oh, okay. Alderwoman, did you want to make the motion?
Yes, please, thank you. I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution.
I second.
We have a first and a second. Let's have a roll call on this, please.
Alderman Craig,
Aye.
Alderman Barber,
Aye.
Alderman Hassan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman,
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Abstain?
4 ayes, 1 absent, 1 abstention. Motion carries. G13, a resolution allowing the claim of Greg Nisenbaum related to the assessment on tax key number 747-9979-001. Who, you want to take this?
We can tag team it, I guess.
All right, start with Mr. City Attorney.
Assistant City Attorney Sadak worked with the Director of Administration on this, so I would suggest she present, even though my initials somehow got put on it.
Yes, they did.
So this is an item that came before the council on May 7th, and the council was going to settle, and information that the gentleman had not made the Board of Review had come to the council, and the council decided to not take any action. This item has been requested to come back to the council by both the mayor and Alderman Craig of District 6, and for a, I guess, a reconsideration, if you will, under the fact of the matter that there's palpable error on the assessment, and this is also substantiated by our current assessor. And they agree that this would be the right thing to do. So it's before all of you right now to decide upon.
Excellent, I'll comment on it. It is absolutely 100% the right thing to do. It was assessed properly, and I think we should move forward with this, but just looking for a motion. Mr. Barber, do you have any further comments on this?
No.
Thank you.
I like, second it.
So we got a motion by Mr. Hassan, seconded by Mr. Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any denials? No, motion approved. It's passed, motion carries. Thank you. G14. And then we'll take a break. A motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985, sub 1, sub G as in George, to confirm with legal counsel for the common counsel who is rendering advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to Polish Heritage Alliance, Inc. versus City of Franklin, Milwaukee County Circuit Court case number 2023-CV-9073, a litigation matter which is in process and pending at this time, and to enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Sorry, I got your card. Alderman Peccarelli,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman,
Aye.
Alderman Hassan,
Aye.
Alderman Barber,
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes. Please read the motion.
The motion, suggested motion is a motion to direct staff to proceed as discussed in closed session.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Alderman Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Excellent. Going into H as in Henry, licenses, who's taking this tonight?
That's me.
Alderman Craig.
So myself and Alderwoman Eichman met at 5:02 PM this evening, went over a whole slew of new operators. All of the operators on the first page, page 268 of your packet, we recommend for approval. On page 269, all operators are recommended for approval, with the last applicant needing to contingent on them correcting their application. And the three operators on the final page and the temporary Class B beer license are also recommended for approval by the council.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. I will now go into item I as in Ida. 3 points. This will be a roll call vote. Motion approving the following: city vouchers with an ending date of July 11, 2024 in the amount of $2,199,113.66. Point 2, payroll dated July 12, 2024 in the amount of $472,457.87, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $257,688.09 plus city matching payments. And point 3, estimated payroll dated July 26, 2024 in the amount of $483,000 even, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $514,000 plus city matching payments.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. This will be a roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. It's 8:21 PM. We are adjourned. Well done, everyone. We're slowly going into off.